hope you're doing well. I am finally getting out for a little bit of a better tour of some of these outdoor flower beds and sempervivum clusters. This lovely little guy is a Virgil, and then mixed in between we have herbs and various and sundries. This is lovely lady's mantle, a creeping thyme. There's some Delosperoma that I really thought was dead, but it is now coming back up in and amongst the weeds. Some sedum there. Some sweet pea flowers coming up here. Irises that just got finished blooming. They were beautiful. Some more sempervivum clusters here. This is magnificum. If I can stay out of the sun. They're beautiful. Red, and then we got some bee balm there. This guy's gonna bloom. Look at that. And yes, they do die when they bloom, but there's so many offsets, you know. It doesn't usually bother me too much. It's obviously very sad if you have a single, head and then it goes to bloom. But otherwise, they can have some really beautiful blooms, and I think they're a lot of fun. So, all right. Let's continue on here. This bed here doesn't really have any sempervivum with this lovely little oak. It is full of mint and bee balm and poppies. You can see a lovely little poppy head there. But most of it is mint and various and sundry other herbs. Alrighty. We've got some of these big boxes here, which you'll see either later in this video or in another one. And this is what they look like if I can get back. They're really long, and they look like they were made to be planter boxes, but they actually weren't. A friend of ours whose husband does long haul trucking, there's a nuclear plant quite a ways from here, but not that far considering. And they ship stuff, metal rods, nothing radioactive or nuclear or anything like that, but they ship metal rods in these, and then they just throw them all away. And so he brought some home, and she was kind enough to share them with us, and they make amazing planter little beds. So, all right, here we are with this one here. It looks like it's gonna bloom also. Some forest frost. There's a few strawberries. I see a, oops. Sorry, I got a problem with my stand here. See some red strawberries peeking out there, and then this huge thing here with all the white flowers. This is Valerian, which is an amazing herb, and actually has really sweet, nice smelling flowers. If anyone knows the plant, you know that the roots, which is what we mostly use, they smell kind of like stinky feet. They're not exactly really nice smelling, the roots themselves, but the flowers are beautiful. And some more sedum. I think this is cherry tart. Some more creeping thyme there. More sempervivum all in here. These are Shirley's Joy. Yeah, the tag is still on these. After, the tags eventually all just get really brittle. So I have metal tags. Maybe I'll show them when I come across one tucked up under the soil so that I can tell what they are. And then I had, you can see all of this. This is Cape Blanco sedum. All of this in here. Well, not the green stuff, but this light stuff. And this whole area here was all this. And the deer, possibly the cats were in on it too. I'm not entirely sure. Dug this up. So I came out this spring and there were just little pieces of this just everywhere, and I thought they had totally killed it, except for this cluster here. But it's actually coming up. It's not a solid mat like I love and like it was, but it's coming back, and it's blooming, which is beautiful. Yellow blooms, some more. These are candy floss. These lovely little, it looks like we're gonna have one or two bloom, which doesn't surprise me. I didn't have any of these clusters here of sempervivum. None of them bloomed last year, or very few of them, so It doesn't surprise me at all that I've got some good blooms coming on. Mostly here, this is just various and sundry sedums that were, a lot of them were partially dug up, so there's little spots instead of the solid patch that there was. We got another lady's mantle here and some more. I think this is called rock knoll or something like that. These ones, they're really red. I mean, I don't know if you can tell with the sun and the shade and everything, you know, but these guys are really an amazing deep red that stays. A lot of mine start out really red in the spring, and they get like the tectorum, the sempervivum tectorum, they get really red in the spring and when they're cold, and then they green up later on in the year, but these guys just stay red and they're beautiful. I got another big Valerian plant here, and then you can see out here are raspberries. There's all raspberries here along this wire that you can kind of see that's attached to those fences. It's usually super windy up here, and you can hear the wind now, of course, but it's really difficult every time I want to come out, every time I feel well enough anyways, to come out and do a quick video outside of some of the landscaping. It's so windy that you can't even hear me. We got a little bit more of the sedum there. And this is just a weed. And these guys, got some weeds going on in here too. This mulch that we used in here has a lot of weed seeds in it, which is fine. We get it in bulk at our local place, but they're pretty easy to pull up, so it works out well. All right, let me see. Yeah, these guys are Firebird, and they stay fairly red too like this, but as you can see inside, they're greener. So they're not just as completely solid as those are. And these are Pekingese. And they have some beautiful pink blooms. And I really like the contrast with these guys with the light, really lime green. And then it's usually a light pink bloom that they have. And I really like those. This guy has got some sadness going on here. I'm not sure if he got frosted. Looks like a hydrangea, but usually those don't quite last the winter here. But anyways, sorry, I'm getting all distracted with my own plants, you guys. All right, onward and upward. And then out this way is our orchard area. We've been doing, well, I'll video this bed and then I'll talk. We've been doing a ton of dirt work, so everything's kind of, the weeds are going to town in this bed. I just pulled all these and got them all weeded about 2 weeks ago, and then we had a bunch of rain for the last couple of weeks, which is great actually. Everything is very happy and glad that we had some rain, but I couldn't get out here and do anything. Not that I really felt like it anyways, but these guys are gonna bloom also. I'm not sure what these ones are. I forget which ones I poked here. And then we got we got another sedum here. This is a blue, I forget what it's called, but it's a blue type. That amongst the weeds is a lovely catnip plant. And then lavender bushes. Lavender, sweet peas. And then we got a few, ducking around this tree, we got a few blooming over here. Aren't they just beautiful? I know they die, but it's okay. I've got plenty of heads, and I think they're just fantastic. The blooms on a lot of these, they just make me smile. Anyways, we are in the process. So this is our yard here, and there's the house. And on this side of the house here, we are planning on adding on a greenhouse. And so this bed here has had a lot of my herbs and various plants in it. And so because which we've been cutting mint today. My son and I, he's been helping me. You can see where we've got going on this patch. We filled up my drying rack for today and we're letting that dry. So I am slowly removing things out of this bed as the year goes on and putting them either in pots or other places so that when we add this on, the greenhouse on, all of these plants are already moved and ready to go. So a lot of my herbs and various things are really in limbo and in pots all over the place right now, because since we were doing that dirt work, we figured, which we haven't actually done that dirt work yet, but since we had a lot to do, we figured we might as well just do. So my husband has been cutting out, as you can see here. This is our garden orchard area, and he is going to work on fencing this week. We had electric fence around it for a couple years, and just kind of temporary stuff until we got to a point where we could put up a big hardy fence. But the deer come in and tear up our trees every single year with their horns, just rubbing, trying to get the velvet off and whatnot, and it ends up really damaging the trees. So we're super excited to have a fence here, and all of this is going to get planted. It's going to be garden / herb area. Then there's a whole nother area on the other side of the house that he just did as well, that is going to be a whole nother planting area also, and I am beyond excited about that. Sorry you guys, here we go. Trying to readjust my stand as I walk here. Alrighty. So everything's in a bit of limbo here, and this is kind of messy still, but I'll go ahead and give you guys a peek. Well, this is still getting planted. I usually plant flowers in this every year, but we had to move that in this old stove. I don't even know. I think he found it out in the middle of the woods, but that might have been at a yard sale or something that he found this, which of course I'm going to plant some kind of vining amazing thing up. Isn't that just so cool? And then my tire here, we had some old tires, so we used a couple as planters for this intermediate period until we get everything where it is wanting to go. This is just full of sedum, and then we got another tire full of strawberries waiting to have a happy place to plant. And then we have these beds. Now these guys, last year I wasn't able to get everything in the ground like I planned on. In the spring I was selling plants, as I do from time to time, and then I got really sick and I wasn't able to finish selling all of the ones that I had potted up, and didn't get them all planted in the ground, and so I threw some of them in this wood planter box here, and thinking, that may not be a really great idea because they're above ground, so obviously they get a lot colder and they might not survive the winter. Well, with the deer coming in the way they did this year for the first time ever, it's a really good thing I planted a bunch of these guys here, because these turned out to be the only ones that didn't get all dug up. Most of those beds that I just showed you were full of sedum and sempervivum and stuff. And now you saw how kind of, it's not like they're not full, but there's just a cluster here and a cluster there because the deer just really came in and dug up. A lot of the dark colored ones they didn't dig up at all, which was interesting, but every single green cluster was buried or at least dug up and turned upside down. So the ones that were in here actually did amazing and survived really, really well, and I'm so glad that I didn't have time and didn't feel well enough to plant them all and ended up throwing them in here. And they did so well that I think I'm going to leave them in here. I love how they look. They're beautiful, and they survived really well, and the boxes dry out quite well, more than our typical, normal soil does, because they're above ground. And so, yeah, I am just, so thankful that I threw these guys, and I literally was like, I'm killing them, I'm throwing them in a bed, and it's above, it's gonna freeze too hard and it's not gonna be good. I didn't mulch them, I didn't cover them, I didn't do anything. It was kind of sad, and which I wouldn't usually mulch or cover them when they were planted in the ground, but these are all beautiful and amazing. And I actually had to, it was kind of funny, the soil, because I was in such a hurry when I planted them all, the soil settled so much that this spring I actually was taking armloads of soil and stuffing them up under these plants that I had planted. I started at one end and was literally stuffing armloads to raise everybody back up and fill this guy with soil. So because everything is moved right now, this guy is, the end of this bed is full of herbs, which all got transplanted not that long ago and aren't looking super spiffy, but they will perk up later and they will have a much nicer permanent home later on. All right, if you guys want, I can do a more detailed video on some of these beds, talking about the types and stuff if you're interested, but I've been promising showing you guys my outdoor beds for what feels like forever now, and so since it wasn't outrageously windy today, I decided to have a quick look anyways.
Daddy, go!
Have been blooming really pretty, but they are kind of over for right now. And these guys are really opening up really pretty. Alrighty, I think I'll call that good for today. Give you guys a little peek when things get a little further down the line, or other things are blooming when some of those other ones open up. And until next time, I hope you're all doing well. I will talk to you soon, and happy growing!